Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima, and I'm here checking out One Finger Death Punch 2. Oh man, I never thought this was coming, especially after the whole One Finger Death Punch getting ported to mobile and it turned out to be an absolute garbage fire thing that was happening, but eventually, apparently, the developers were just like, you know what, we're gonna make the proper One Finger Death Punch 2, and we are going to do it right. We are going to do it exactly the way we want to. And that's exactly what they did, and I am so happy. You have no idea. I loved the original One Finger Death Punch. I played the crap out of it. So, yes, more One Finger Death Punch is always a good thing. So, let's have a look at our options menu. We have graphics quality, which is nice. I am playing this on a GPD Win 2, so the thing about that is that I'm keeping it on low quality. Actually, I could probably realistically put it up to high. It might actually work pretty well on high. Yeah, that seems okay. But anyway, we got it on high. We also have a bunch of options here, including the ability to mute the announcer. This is something I would never dare to do because I feel like it's blasphemy. And you can also change the controls here if you feel like it. Although, really, you don't need to. I am playing this on a GPD Win 2, as I said, so I'm basically playing this on the buttons. You can use alternate controls, though, if you like. That's pretty nice. You can also customize what the stick figures look like. You can give them skin-colored forearms, head, and shading. And you can also change the skin color, but only of their head and forearms. That's just a little bit bizarre. So I keep them turned off. I like the eyes sometimes, but for the most part I just keep the shading on. And here's a bunch of other options. Most of these are just UI sorts of things. There's gamepad discovery though. You can also lock the frame rate to 60 frames per second, but there's honestly no need to do this because the higher the frame rate is, the better your input is. That, and I think locking the game to 60 frames actually causes some problems, but considering that the game is now at 60 frames for some reason, well, we'll see just how much difference that makes. Hide zones above enemies, hold button for easy struggles. Actually, I might turn that on. I prefer that over just having to mash the button, because anyone who's played One Finger Death Punch before can and will tell you, do not button mash. So let's just go hop into some levels and actually give it a shot, shall we? I am a little bit into the game. This is about 2 hours, but I have been playing all the modes, not just the main levels. So you wander around the levels here, and you can replay ones that you have already finished, but if you've already got 5 stars on them, you don't really need to worry about it. So let's just hop straight in. You can see the frame rate up at the top right there. This is a GPD Win 2, so its specs are a M37Y30, which is basically a low-power embedded processor, and it can still run the game on low graphics at 3 times the frame rate it needs to be. So, say this game will run on pretty much anything relatively modern is kind of underselling it. I'm just going to shut up and let you watch the chaos for a bit. Yeah, baby. So that was Game of One Finger Death Punch. It is undescribably awesome. So, here's the drill. The reason why it's called One Finger Death Punch is that you literally only need one button to play the game. Or one finger, I should say, sorry. And that one finger is your thumb going over the 2 buttons, because the game only has 2 buttons, attack left and attack right. And all the mechanics in the game work off these 2 buttons. So you attack left and you attack right. You have a short attack range, which I just fucked up there. You have a short attack range, so you need to wait for them to be within range. However, you can pick up weapons that will, for a limited time, extend your range. There are enemies that will require you to brawl them, like that one, where the buttons that you need to press will come from the top of the screen, and you need to press them in order to successfully get through. There are enemies that will swap sides. There are projectiles that will fly in that thankfully actually have the text on top of their name, so you don't have to remember what colors do what. There are throwing weapons. There is the Ball of Death, which will come in at some point. We just got a weapon rack, which will give us multiple weapons in a row so that we have range for an even more extended amount of time. And there we go. The game does give you a 16-level tutorial, and that teaches you everything you need to know. There is not one thing in this game that tutorial does not teach you. And that's very good, because it means you can just get right into the slaughter. As I said before, the one rule of the game, do not button mash. You should never button mash in this game. It is a game of precision. Mashing buttons will simply get you killed. You can even have the game saying button mashing detected down the bottom of the screen if it detects you button mashing, but no. Everything in this game is precise. You need to do everything as precisely as you would any other game. It's basically like a fighting game in the sense where you have to be precise. Just randomly hitting buttons will get you killed. Thankfully, the game is very open about this. It will tell you immediately, do not button mash. You need to focus. You need to hit the buttons as they come along. And it works beautifully. Getting through a 200-man melee, standing free at the end, and not having taken a single hit makes you feel like God. Chances are I'm not going to be able to do that during this video, but, well, I'm not kidding, it really does make you feel like God. Holy shit, they came in quick. Yeah, that was embarrassing. The game is very fair, though. There are situations where you might think, oh, I just hit a button on accident, or, oh, I got the power sword. Everybody dies. There are situations where you might think, oh, I completely and utterly pressed the wrong button in that situation. It's probably going to penalize me for that, but no. There are situations in the game where if you couldn't possibly perceive what was going on, it will actually give you a little bit of a break and make it so that certain inputs don't count in certain situations. Like, if you have two enemies on either side, for example, and you do that automatic spin kick that takes them both out, and then you immediately press to the left, because you first hit to the right, and you think, oh, I gotta hit to the left to take out the guy next to me, it won't penalize you for stuff like that. But if you just mash away, it will absolutely just end your day. So it's fair. It's actually a lot fairer than you might expect, but at the same time, it's also very punishing. Do not button mash. They aren't kidding. So yeah, sometimes you get special levels like this where the idea is you need to kill people with ranged weapons, which means grabbing them and waiting for someone with the target above their head to come through, and then using that throwing weapon to kill them off. Generally on levels like this, the targets are kind of random, so I just kind of play them as regular levels and just wait. That was a boss, but thankfully for bosses, I have a skill turned on, which lets me fight them not so often. It looks like I'm actually going to screw up this one. There we go. Yep. That's unfortunate. We can use a revenge token. Why not? Would you like to spend with a larger zone and you will regenerate health? Why not?
Revenge token.
Revenge.
Deadly target.
The game is mechanically sublime, is what I'm trying to say. It absolutely feels like they did everything they could with the original theme, and
Legendary.
it works amazingly. It is sublime. With just 2 buttons, the game is smoother and more satisfying than most games out there. It's actually kind of incredible. Because the game is incredibly simple. It's very easy to tell what you need to do. Every mistake made is your fault. And that's the best thing about it. You never feel like that the game is just screwing you over at any point. And you are always given the time you need to focus. Take advantage of the battlefield around you. Everything is simple, from catching those bloody daggers and throwing them into an enemy you really don't want to deal with, or getting a skill to go off and getting just that tiny little break from the action to just perfectly maneuvering your way through a 200 enemy melee, as I said before. It's sublime. It feels fantastic. And it's helped out by the fact that it looks incredible. Like, it's very clear. Oh, well, yep, I'm just Jesus. I was just screwing it up there. That's the first 4-star I've gotten in this video. Probably won't be the last. Does still count as a pass though, so I'll take it. But yeah, it looks absolutely incredible. The animations are on point. Shit drops into the environment for your dude to just beat the crap out of everyone with. It just... Look at these animations. It's like if someone took the old Zhao Zhao animations and just injected them with heroin. It is one hell of a battle. Oh, there's the ball of death. You just kick the ball of death into people constantly. It's great to beat the crap out of people with the ball of death. It's just a ton of fun. And it always looks great. The only downside to the action looking as good as it does is that sometimes you find yourself relying on the bars down the bottom of the screen, which can kind of suck. Because if you want to watch the action going on up top, you just find yourself looking at the bars a lot and not actually paying any attention to the bloodbath that's going on up top, which is a shame because the game really does look lovely. Yeah, I mashed there and I paid for it. It'd be great if there was a way to, like, display your inputs on screen so that people would know when it was your fault when you were mashing. So if I finish this level, I'll get to move on to... Oh my god. 370 dudes. Damn, I did that one just a little bit too... Ooh, minigame. Minigames don't actually change much. It's the same thing, just... do not button mash. Just do your best. I'm actually going to turn the game speed down a bit because that is actually something you can do. There are two different speed meters. There's the manual speed meter and the automatic speed meter. Your manual speed meter actually goes up depending on how well you're doing on any particular set of levels. If you complete the level having managed to pull off a perfect, just as an example, it'll actually put your manual speed up a little. But if you fail a level, it'll actually put your manual speed down. But you can also modify your manual speed by using the D-pad while you're in the middle of a fight. So if you want the game to be just inhumanly fast, you can do that. And that's actually pretty cool as well, being able to choose just how hard you want it. And there is also, of course, the actual speed meter, which is affected by pickups going on in the world. So you might notice some dudes running in with speed above their head. That's the regular speed meter going up. So yes, the game does have a way of making the levels actually go faster, while, you know, giving you the option to put your own speed up or down. So it can be as fast or as slow as you want it. But again, there are points where you will have to deal with some stupidly fast levels. It does look like my win is having just the slightest amount of trouble keeping up with the high graphics. But not enough to affect my gameplay, so I'm just going to keep it on high graphics. Boom. Ooh, dagger round. Again, the same deal. You only get one knife, so do not button mash. Focus, sensei. I also got some free health from it because that's part of the skill that's bound to. We'll get the skills as soon as we're done with this round. It is just so satisfying. Just watching these dudes all get the bloody bejesus beat out of them is one of the most satisfying things in video games. The animations are on point. They're just finely tuned, so they're just fast enough. They're not too fast, they're not too slow. And there are a lot of different backgrounds that give the arenas a fair amount of variety. That's a lie.
Legendary.
Leaving the swamp from the bottom. And we get to move on to the third area, which is the desert by the looks of it. Or possibly a volcano? But yeah, so if I hit the exit button, we can go back to the main menu, and we can go check out our skills. Now, skills are all idle things. They will all eventually come up over the course of the fight. And you can also do things like increase your attack range, which is nice. You earn skill points by going off the beaten path in the story mode. And once you beat a certain amount of levels, you will get a skill point, or when you beat a level with a skill point, whether you get a skill point. And then you can spend them on these. Thankfully, they're not all... They don't immediately set in, so you can just set them how you please. And they all do all sorts of things, like kill all enemies on one side, kills any enemy in one hit, or the chainsaw. I really should apply a point to that. Let's take a point out of Brawler Kill and put into Chainsaw. But yeah, you can see all sorts of things going on here, and we might as well do the Spirit Chain as well, just for the purpose of demonstration. So, yeah, you put them in as you please, you build your character as you please, and you continue on. Skills also affect every mode of the game, including survival and some of the modes and more. We'll go do a couple more levels in Well, actually, no, we don't really need to. I've shown you basically what there is to see. There are probably more in-depth levels later on, but yeah, for the most part, yeah, you've seen what there is to see. It's mostly mob fights. With that said, let's go do some of the survival tower. So, survival towers are pretty simple to understand. You start on a certain tier, you can skip up tiers if you've unlocked them, and the higher a tier you're on, the more points you get. So as you can see right now, my current score is, well, my current high score is 3,000, but since I'm starting on tier 3 and not tier 1, I'm catching up to that score super quickly. You can see that the tiers are going on up in the top there. And it's basically just your standard brawl. You get skills, they slowly charge up as well. And you just play for as long as you can. Try and get a good streak in. And that's pretty much the long and the short of it. The music is goddamn awesome as well. They've done a fantastic job with the soundtrack, just making it fit theme. It looks great. It looks absolutely fantastic. It looks great. It sounds great. It's just a really well presented game, and well, considering that it's a two-dimensional game that takes up 2 gigabytes worth of graphics, it absolutely should. Good old board there. I hate dealing with you. That's why I had 3 points assigned to the brawler skill, so I could just kill him instantly.
New high score.
And it feels like an accomplishment just to press a button in this game. It's just that well presented. Yeah, boy. The gameplay is immensely well balanced. Even here in the survival tower, they never throw anything at you that you can't take care of. And it works amazingly. Look at the blood effects. Look at him. Look at how he chops them up. Wait until you see the chainsaw. Because the chainsaw is amazing. There are some special attacks you can get with the power weapons that can kill in one hit. And the chainsaw is just super impressive. He picks them up by the stomach. And he lets them fall down the running chainsaw, and it's the goriest effect. It is the best thing. Unfortunately, you can't really earn skill points in any mode that isn't the story mode. So you do have to play through the story mode at least a little bit in order to actually, like, unlock all the skills. It would be nice if you were able to just unlock skill points from playing in survival mode, but at the same time, having infinite skill points would probably break the game just because of how often you can get the skills to trigger. There's the chainsaw. So it's perfectly balanced to make the two buttons work. Each individual press is instantly satisfying thanks to the amazing graphical style. The music sounds excellent. It's incredibly well fine-tuned. And it's just instantly gratifying to play, but makes you feel like an absolute god when you can get through a really tough level without taking a single hit. It's super gratifying, but we're just going to return to the tower. Unfortunately, you have to do all the tiers in one go, which might be a bit much for some people, but yeah. We do have some extra modes to check out, though. You do have your training if you want to replay that. You've got a cooperative tower, which is actually pretty neat. You have no Luke and no. Battle enemies and this stupid cat at the same time. We'll get to that, but first thing I want to do is show off the Gauntlet. Now, the Gauntlet is really interesting. So, the way the Gauntlet works is it's a bunch of levels put together in a grid that are procedurally generated. And you have to find your way through. More or less. You can choose what levels you want to take on, what direction you want to go in, and yes, there is chainsaw dueling. Yeah, I screwed that one up. I button mashed and I paid for it. The downside is that your health carries over from level to level. So as you can see on the screen right now, I've only got 4 health. I started with 10. Legendary. So you do need to get through this while also dealing with the fact that your health doesn't regenerate. Thankfully, your skills do apply here as well, so you can get health back if you have the skills for it. And I do believe the Gauntlet, well, does the Gauntlet regenerate? I haven't actually died in the Gauntlet yet. I assume it would just change if you lose. So many balls of death.
Last hit.
Alright, so that was a Ball of Death level where you just have to kill enemies with a Ball of Death. Makes enough sense to me.
Fight. Mob round.
I'm just having fun at this point. Like, seriously. It's impossible not to play this game for at least a little bit and not immensely enjoy the ridiculous action. Even if only a little bit. I'm just gonna let myself die here. So, let's see what happens when we lose the Gauntlet. I'm trying to continue, but won't actually let me. Alright, yeah. So yeah, the grid has officially reset and it has changed because I did not have those 2 skull levels up the top there. So yeah, just a little extra thing for you to go through once you're done with the main campaign. And the main campaign has a couple of 100 levels, easy. Like, it has a ton of levels in it. So if we back out, yeah, it does save, so you can come back to it later if you so desire. We can play the final included mode, which is No Luca No. Yes, we do have to play this. So, it works the same way as your regular survival tower. Except for that. Yes, a cat does come in on the screen and just block your view of things. You have to use the analog stick to get rid of him. For those of you who don't get the reference, Silver Dollar Games, the people who make One Finger Death Punch, originally made games on the Xbox Live Indie Store. And their last game on the Xbox Live Indie Store was One Finger Death Punch, the original One Finger Death Punch. But one of their earlier games was a game called No Luca No. And it is a game where you have a bowl of cereal, and you have to push Luca back, Luca the cat, before Luca gets to the cereal. But if you push Luca away too early before Luca is actually on screen, you lose. So it's basically just a really simple arcadey score attack style challenge. They basically just brought that mode back for this game. Just as a neat little side mode. There's no punishment if you actually try and push Luca back before Luca is actually on screen. But still, it's probably something you won't play more than once or twice, but I appreciate the reference. Damn cat got me hit twice. There is one thing that I'm not particularly sure I like about the game though, and that's the ridiculous amount of achievements. The game does have its own trophies, quote unquote, which are basically just, you know, you completed X set of levels in the main campaign and that's it. Meanwhile, the game has like 700 achievements that are more or less just basically, you killed X amount of enemy type, you got hit a certain amount of times, etc, 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 etc. It just seems unnecessary to have them. Especially, like, I played like an hour of One Finger Death Punch because it came out at like 9 o'clock my time and there was a point where I was just too tired to keep going, so after about an hour I quit. And I was surprised to find out that I'd gotten over 300 achievements. The game has about 770 of them, so yeah, it can be a little bit too much, in my personal opinion. I would have appreciated some more interesting achievements, like, on X level, get through it without using balls of death or something, you know, just something more interesting like that. But honestly, that's like my only real major gripe, other than there are a couple of bugs here and there. It hasn't actually shown up in this video for some reason, but every time I play like a survival tower, all the text would disappear, despite the fact that I didn't actually turn it off like in the options menu or anything. So that's a little bit bizarre. But, I mean, other than that, I've basically got nothing bad to say about it. It is immensely satisfying to play One Finger Death Punch. It is a fantastic sequel. It is everything I could have ever hoped from a sequel to One Finger Death Punch in the first place. Oh, well, you damn cat. I love it to bits, and I would thoroughly recommend it. It is currently out on PC. It came out the day I'm recording this video, but yeah, it's out on PC right now. It is coming to PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. I know this for a fact. It will be coming in a couple of months. So if you are wanting to play this game on the Switch, you absolutely can. But this is why I bought the GPD Win 2, because I love the GPD Win 2 for games like this, because it's honestly a little bit better for it than the Switch, just due to its, well, not only due to its extra capabilities, it is better than the Switch hardware-wise, but I just like the feel of it better, especially since my Switch is currently kind of broken. My right Joy-Con won't actually stay secured inside the Switch itself, so playing games on it means the right Joy-Con will just randomly stop working, and I'll have to take it out of the slot and readjust it. And the fact that this tends to happen in some really annoying places where I really don't want my controller to stop working, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much everything. That was a look at One Finger Death Punch 2. It is brilliant. It is fantastic. It is amazing. It is one of the best games I've played this year. I wholeheartedly recommend it no matter where you want to play it. Just, like, I can't praise it enough. It is the best example of minimalist gameplay being all the more satisfying. Walking simulators could take note. This has been Blue Maxima, and I will see you all next time.